Alright, welcome to Chef's Take. I'm your host, Michael Zavlaris. Today is September 22nd, 2023. It is a Friday. You ain't got no job, you ain't got shit to do. Ain't no better day to post a good old video, especially for football. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. Week 2 wrapped up on Monday. So, we have our final results of the games. I'm trying to remember what my overall record was. I know I picked the Eagles to win, so that's 1-0. The Packers and Falcons, I think I picked the Packers, but the Falcons ended up winning the game. Obviously, I picked the Bills. I think I had the Bengals winning this game, but obviously they lost 27-24. Pretty sure I picked the Lions to win, and that's another loss. That was a really tough game to pick. I picked the Chargers to beat the Titans. That wasn't the case. I picked the Bucks to win. I picked the Chiefs to win. I picked the Colts to win. I picked the 49ers to win. I picked the Giants to win. I picked the Cowboys to win. I picked the Broncos to win, but they blew an 18-point lead. I picked the Dolphins to win. I picked the Saints, and I think I picked the Browns. I don't know. But from what it sounds like, just for the sake of it, let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's go for the sake of 5. I went 11-5 this week. That's still not bad, but I think I can do better than that. So, injuries keep piling up, and it's unfortunate. We're only in week 3. Week 3 kicked off yesterday with the Giants and Niners, in which I had the Niners winning that game. No Saquon for a few weeks. But back to the injuries. Injuries keep piling up. Nick Chubb, his knee again on Monday Night Football got absolutely destroyed. I don't even want to think about the image. But it was the same knee he suffered his gruesome injury back in 2015 on, I believe it was the left knee, if I'm not mistaken. It's unfortunate. It's part of the game, but obviously it's the part of the game we all hate. And I don't like using the word hate, but it is a part of the game that we don't like. And just yesterday, I think it was yesterday, Trayvon Diggs was seen in crutches during practice. He tore his ACL on one-on-ones. That's something you don't want to see either. That's horrible. That's a tough blow for Dallas. Dallas has a really, really good defense. That's what they're known for. They have a great defense, and now they just lost one of the best corners in the league in Trayvon Diggs. It's only week 3, and this is happening already. It's terrible. And we have a lot of injuries this week. If I pull up Adam Schefter's post, I can get it up right here. Players out Sunday include Anthony Richardson, who suffered a concussion on Sunday. He missed all practice this week, so Gardner Minshew will get the start. Richardson, Ryan Kelly, OBJ, Justice Hill, Ronnie Stanley, Tyler Linderbaum, Marlon Humphrey. I don't know what it is with the Ravens. I'll get to the rest of the list in a minute, but I don't know what it is with the Ravens. The Ravens always have players hurt. I don't understand it. This is like the second or third straight year J.K. Dobbins suffered an injury. He can't catch a break. I don't know what is going on with the Ravens. I don't know if it's the medical staff, if it's the way they practice, or both. Because I remember the Eagles had the same problem when Doug Peterson was a head coach. None of our players could stay healthy. We were missing players were dropping like flies left and right when he was our coach. That was the only downside I had about him. But I don't know what it is. It's terrible. Anyway, Austin Eckler is out. Eric Kendricks, Marcus Davenport, Jamal Williams, Elgton Jenkins, offensive lineman for the Packers, Peter Skoronski, Greg Newsome, Taylor Decker, Kirby Joseph, Emmanuel Mosley, Halapoulivaati Vaitai, part of the Eagles Super Bowl run, filled in for Jason Peters when he tore his ACL. Logan Thomas, Frank Clark, Justin Simmons, Denzel Perryman, Jalen Pitare, Derek Stingley. I really like Derek Stingley. If you guys remember the streams I had for the draft, I was so high on Derek Stingley. And he's going to be out for like 6 to 8 weeks with a hamstring injury. Zay Jones is out. Bryce Young is out. Charles Cross, Kobe Bryant, Nick Bolton, Richie James, Trayvon Diggs, Gunnar Olszewski. It's only week 3. I don't get it. This is a weird season. The Bengals are 0-2. Now, the Bengals always start off slow, but the Bengals are 0-2. Joe Burrow may not even play on Monday. I think it's either Sunday or Monday. I forget when they play, but Joe Burrow may not even play. He re-aggravated his calf. Joe Mixon was taking reps at quarterback. Now, I don't think he was doing actual, 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s. Obviously, he can't because he's the RB1. But he was seen doing some quarterback drills, which is interesting considering the Bengals don't have a QB2 on the roster, assuming Joe Burrow doesn't play. Former Eagles quarterback Reid Sinnett, who we traded for from the Dolphins, who was complete ass, by the way. Sorry, I had to throw that in there. It really wasn't that good. He was signed to their practice squad. I don't know if Will Grier was signed to the practice squad. He was definitely signed somewhere, but it's just brutal. It's a weird season, like I said. The Bengals are 0-2. New England's 0-2, but that was to be expected. The Chargers are 0-2. Let's see, the NFC. Minnesota's 0-2. Atlanta and New Orleans are 2-0. Tampa Bay's 2-0. And it's funny because if y'all remember, I literally had every single team in the NFC South going 7-10 this year. And I think I picked, it was either Tampa Bay or Atlanta making the playoffs. Baker Mayfield is looking pretty good right now. Love to see it. I always liked Baker. But, yeah, there's some surprises going on. Like I said, Minnesota's 0-2. Atlanta's 2-0. Nobody expected any of that. The Eagles are 2-0. But, because it's the Eagles, they just want to say, oh, they've been struggling even though they're 2-0. You don't hear that with other teams. And there was another thing I saw. There's 9 quarterbacks in the league that have completed over 70% of their passes. And there's only like 4 quarterbacks who have over 9 yards per attempt. And there's only 1 quarterback who has both, and that's Jalen Hurts. I probably botched the second half of the stat, which is like yards per attempt, something like that, but definitely the completion percentage is up there. And I watched the QB school. If you're a football fan, obviously, if you're watching this, you are. If you're a football fan, if you're really into football like I am, I recommend watching the QB school. They go over all the game film of all these quarterbacks and just do a deep dive. For instance, they had Jalen Hurts week 1 against, I think they had week 1 against the Patriots. He had Jalen Hurts against the Vikings. He had Justin Fields last week and this week. He has like every quarterback, even Caleb Williams, who you all know I'm very high on. So I think it's very educational. And speaking of Justin Fields, oh my goodness, it's terrible. Let me turn this AC off. So it's horrible. There's so many things there's so many variables that go into the Bears' struggles. Justin Fields is missing wide open looks. I mean, there was a wide open touchdown if he threw it to the guy, but I think he ran into a sack. And the offensive coordinator is calling plays you don't even see in high school. There's 2 guys doing like a corner route in the same spot. That's not supposed to happen. I know I'm not a football coach, but it doesn't take that much brains to know that you shouldn't have 2 guys going to the same place at once. Generally, you'd try and design a route to open up more space for the other route. For instance, You can have someone do a little hitch route while someone does a out route, like a corner route, which would open the field for at least one of them. Either the one corner, depending if it's zone coverage, he's either going to close in onto the guy on the hitch route, which would be a short yard completion, or he'd drop back to the hitch route, which would leave the hitch guy open. He'd drop back to the corner route, leaving the hitch guy open, and vice versa. So, I don't know what the hell they're cooking in Soldier Field, but it's brutal. Their defensive coordinator just stepped down. $100,000 worth of equipment was stolen from Soldier Field. I don't know what is going on. I feel for Bears fans. They're the oldest team in football. And on top of that, the quarterbacks they've had are just terrible. I'm surprised they have all this patience. Justin Fields, I'm rooting for Justin Fields, but my word, this is sick. But then again, I've said it before. OSU quarterbacks never translate to NFL for whatever reason. Cardale Jones, Justin Fields. I don't want to say it, but Dwayne Haskins, well, when he was still playing, he didn't really translate. Rest in peace. The only exception you can make is Joe Burrow, but he was there for a year. Once he went to... He only got drafted #1 because LSU, it was because of his performance at LSU. Just like with Hurts, That's why I like... Even though he went to Alabama for 3 years, I always say he's an Oklahoma guy because Lincoln Riley molded him into a quarterback, into a better quarterback prospect. He was second in Heisman voting at Oklahoma, only behind Joe Burrow, who arguably put up the best performance in NCAA history. So, yeah, I don't know what's going on with the Bears. Justin Fields did throw some coaches on the bus, saying I think part of my struggles were because of coaching, but then he did reiterate, he took it back, which is good, because honestly, that even though I'm all for holding people accountable, I think there's better ways of doing it. I don't like the idea of throwing them under the bus. Like with Jalen, Jalen is like true leader. He's always like, keep the main thing the main thing. Since when was winning not the main thing? This, that, and the third. But yeah, let's move on. So, I don't know if I went over the Eagles-Vikings game, but it was a close one. I wouldn't say it was a close. I mean, it kind of was a close one, but it was definitely an interesting game. We didn't, half of our defense was hurt. No Nakobe Dean, no Reed Blankenship, no James Bradbury. We lost Avonte Maddox in the game per usual. Hope he has a speedy recovery, but he's out for the year with a torn pec. And that's why I think we signed Isaiah Rodgers. Isaiah Rodgers is a good nickel cornerback, and on top of that, he's a return man, and he's cheaper. I think he's a better slot cornerback than Maddox, and he's cheaper. Maddox has a $10 million cap hit next year, and dead cap before June 1st, it's $7 million, $5 to $7 million, something like that. So when I realized when we signed Isaiah Rodgers, when we claimed him off waivers, that's when I realized we're not going to see Avonte Maddox next year. And I think that Vikings game was, unfortunately, his last game as an Eagle. And it sucks. I met him at Oxford Valley Mall. He's a really cool dude. I met him his rookie year, and he was, I thought he was a steal when we drafted him, and he turned out to be a steal. We got him in the 4th, 5th round, and he's one of the best slot corners in the league. It's just, it sucks to see it, but what people always forget is that the NFL is a business, and you got to make these business decisions. Availability is the best ability. And I know I'm a Sixer fan, we can say that indeed, whatever, but we're not talking basketball right now. So, back to the Eagles game. DeAndre Swift won NFC Offensive Player of the Week. He had 175 rushing yards, and I think he had 2 touchdowns. So he went off. And I've said it before. I think DeAndre Swift is better than Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders, I always found overrated. I never cared for Sanders. I appreciate his time in Philly, don't get me wrong, but I never really cared for Sanders. I always thought of him as a slightly above average running back. Because there's really no part of his game that you can, identify. For instance, I've said it many times. When you look at McCaffrey, you think of, an elite receiving back. When you look at Eckler, you think of the same thing. When you want to think of agility and something like that, you look at Saquon. When you think of a cowbell, when you think of a power running back, you think of Derrick Henry. If you want all those guys, you look at someone like Nick Chubb. Miles Sanders, what does he have? He's not a guy that jukes you out of your socks. He's quick, but not quick. And I think our offensive line is the reason he was so successful. Because we have the best offensive line in football. If you put Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, or Christian McCaffrey back there, they're getting 2,000 yards with ease. This year, Miles Sanders, I know it's only been 2 games, but Sanders is averaging 3.6 yards a carry. Every year with the Eagles, going back from 2009 to 2022, 4.6, 5.3, 5.5, and just last year, 4.9. Then his first 2 games with Carolina, 3.6. And he already fumbled. So, yeah, that's why I never cared for Miles Sanders. I've always felt like we overrated him. But that doesn't mean, I dislike him. Like I said, I appreciate his time in Philly, but I was not as high on him as the rest of the fan base was. And I've made that very clear in the past. DeAndre Swift, in his first game as a starter, he had the most rushing yards for an Eagles running back since LaShawn McCoy in the snow game 10 years ago. That's his first game as a starter. Sanders didn't get that. I don't know what his career high is. Sanders had over 100 yards many times, but those are also because he'd break off for a long run ever so often. But DeAndre Swift is agile and he can catch. Sanders, he can't protect the ball. I know. I never thought he could really protect the ball. His hands suck. He can't catch the ball. He always struggled with that. And he was injury prone as all hell. Swift is too. When he was with the Lions, yes. Swift is too. And I like that we're going by committee and not naming DeAndre Swift a full-time starter, because I make sure I talk to fans of a certain fan base, for DeAndre Swift. I talked to Lions fans, and they said he's only good for the first 5 games of the season. He'll look like one of the best running backs in the league, and after 5 weeks he gets hurt and he's out for a while. Which, I like our approach by committee. We're not overworking him. We want to keep him healthy for the playoffs, because we do have a talented RB room. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Rashad Penny against the against the Buccaneers on Monday. Week 1 against the Patriots, we saw a lot of Kenneth Gainwell. Week 2, we saw nothing but DeAndre Swift. Week 3, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a lot of Rashad Penny if he gets most of the carries. And of course, we'll see a lot of Boston Scott for the Giants games. Let's be real here. So we're going to see a lot of these running backs, because we have a lot of talented running backs on our team. I've said it before. Gainwell gives me Westbrook vibes. Westbrook was a Swiss Army knife, and I think Gainwell is too. And people are saying just because after the Patriots game, he's oh, he's not really the answer. He went against Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick prioritizes defense over offense. His defense is always top 5, 10 in the league. So, can't really blame Gainwell there. And Gainwell was our lead back in the playoffs last year. Another reason why I never cared for Sanders, because Sanders, we couldn't trust Sanders in the playoffs. That just tells you. I have to tell Eagle fans, I'm like, look, even the team didn't trust him. Like, what are you talking about? So, there's that. I'll get into the Eagles game in a minute. It's a Monday night game, so when we go over our picks, I'll definitely look at that. I'll definitely go over it when we get there. So without further ado, let's get into our week 3 actually, NFL picks. So, like I said, I did have the Niners beating the Giants yesterday. So, 1-0, baby. Sunday, we have the Titans and Browns. The Browns are 3.5-point favorites. The over-under is 39.5. Amari Cooper will be active and has no injury designation. So, I will pick the Browns here. And the Browns did just sign Kareem Hunt, but from what reports are saying, he's not going to be the starter right now, and depending on how the game goes, we're going to see what kind of role Kareem Hunt will have. I did pick up Kareem Hunt in fantasy just in case, in case he becomes a lead back somehow. But with Jerome Ford, I think Kevin Stefanski has a lot of faith in Jerome Ford, given the fact that they had the whole offseason and training camp to sign Kareem Hunt, but they didn't. And that just shows all the trust they have in Jerome Ford. So I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised he's a starting running back, but I wouldn't be surprised if eventually down the road Kareem Hunt will take his spot, considering he's familiar with the offense. But anyway, I'll pick the Browns here. I'm going to go 24-20, and that's what it looks like right now. 3.5-point favorites, and the over/under is 39.5, so they're probably looking at a 24-20 kind of game too. Next, we have the Falcons at the Lions. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I think, has turf toe. I have no idea if he's playing. I don't see why he... Hold on, let's see here. Will he play? Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown is expected to play. I'm going to take... I really want to take the Falcons here, but I'm going to go with the Lions. Now, the Lions absolutely suck when going against tight ends, and the Falcons have Kyle Pitts, but as a former Kyle Pitts fantasy manager, owner, I don't know how he's going to do. He is literally the most athletic tight end of all time. He is built like a receiver, and he plays tight end. He's built like LeBron, in fact. And he's really fast. It's like all this stuff. He has all the intangibles to be the greatest tight end of all time. Unfortunately, Desmond Ridder is his quarterback, and nobody wants to throw Kyle Pitts the ball for whatever reason. I don't know what it is, but I hope Kyle Pitts goes off, even though he's no longer on my team. But I'm going to go with the Lions here. The over-under is 46 points, which is not really surprising considering both defenses aren't the best. Next game, we have the Saints at Packers. Christian Watson is questionable to play. I think he's going to play. But I don't know if Aaron Jones is... I have no idea if Aaron Jones is playing or not. If he's not playing, I'm going to take the Saints. If he does play, I'm going to take the Packers. Next, we have the Broncos at Dolphins. I don't know what the hell is going on with the Broncos. I had them going to the playoffs, as you all know. I had them going, I forget what the record was. I thought it was 12-5, but I remember I, nerfed it down to, 11-6 or 10-7. But regardless, I had them going to the playoffs, and they're not playing like a playoff team. I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. Minus 6.5. Over-under is 48 points. I'm going to take Miami here. Next, we have the Chargers and Vikings. Two teams that were pretty solid last year. Two playoff teams that are unfortunately 0-2 right now. I am going to take the Chargers over the Vikings. The Vikings are favored, but I really want to take the Chargers here. Unfortunately, both defenses are horrible. So I don't know what to tell you. What team is Khalil Mack on? I just realized that. What team is Mack on? Oh, he's still with the Chargers. Okay. Oh my God, yeah. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack against that Minnesota offensive line. Yeah, good luck. Josh Sweat, who's really, who I think is good. Josh Sweat was getting a lot of pressure, and I can only imagine what Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack are going to do. So yeah, give me the Chargers here. And the over-under is 54 points. That just shows you, like, both defenses are horrible. Next, we got the Patriots and Jets. Patriots have won 14 straight against the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers was playing, I would have picked the Jets. But with Zach Wilson, I don't know what the hell is going on with him. I'm going to take the Patriots here. And it's 2.5 point. They're 2.5 point favorites. The over-under is 36.5. So give me the Patriots minus 2.5. I will do I think it's gonna be like kind of low scoring. I'm gonna go 20-13. Patriots. Next we have Buffalo at Washington. Give me Buffalo. 6.5 point favorites. Over under 43. Give me Buffalo. Next we have the Texans and Jaguars. Jags are 8.5 point favorites. Over under is 44.5. Give me Jacksonville. Minus 8.5. Next, we have the Colts and Ravens. Gardner Minshew's playing, which I love some Minshew magic. Unfortunately, he didn't really do well last year, and that's because, well, look, I think he's a good quarterback. I was pissed that we couldn't win a single game with him, even though it was only 2 games last year. But he just didn't fit our scheme. Like, Hurts is a mobile quarterback. We built that offense specifically for Hurts. Gardner Minshew cannot run. Like, we ran the QB sneak with him last year, and it didn't even work. So, I really want to pick the Colts here. Like, I really do want to pick the Colts. Because, you know, half their team is hurt. I mean, half the Ravens team is hurt. Anthony Richardson's hurt too, and we could see some Minshew magic. But, I'm going to have to go with the Ravens. Actually, screw it. Upset of the week. I'm taking Indianapolis. There we go. I'm taking Indy this game. Next, we have Panthers and Seahawks. Seahawks are 5.5 point favorites. The over-under is 42. Give me Seattle. No, there's no Bryce Young. I don't even... Oh, yeah, Andy Dalton's going to get the start. Meh. Give me Seattle. Chicago against Kansas City. The Chiefs are 12.5 point favorites. And the total point spread is 48. Give me the Chiefs minus 12.5. Because that Bears team is in shambles right now. Next, we have the Cowboys at the Cardinals. Oh, Jesus. This is going to be another murder. Cowboys are 12.5 point favorites. And the total is 43. Give me the Cowboys. It would be the most Cowboys thing ever to lose to the Cardinals, which, believe it or not, I wouldn't be surprised. But let's be honest. I don't see the Cowboys losing this game. Next, we have Pittsburgh against the Raiders. The Raiders are 2.5 point favorites, but I'm going to take the Steelers here. I don't like the Raiders at all. I'm not saying I hate them. It's just I have no confidence in the Raiders. 0. Even though the Eagles game is a 7:15 game, I'm gonna go over the Super Bowl rematch between the Rams and Bengals, which is gonna be a boring one. Joe Burrow may not play. This is a Monday night game. Burrow may not play. The Bengals are 2.5 point favorites. They were 6.5 point favorites, but Vegas knows something we don't, so there's a chance Burrow doesn't play. But if Burrow doesn't play, I'm going to take the Rams. If Burrow plays, I'm taking the Bengals. That's how we're going to do it. And finally, Eagles at Buccaneers. Eagles are 4.5 point favorites. And then the over-under is 46 points. Give me the Eagles here. I know that I know Mayfield is looking really good right now. I know there's Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but I don't. Who Who did the Buccaneers play this year? The Buccaneers played against Chicago and Minnesota. Both teams have a horrible defense. Our defense is pretty good. So, Baker hasn't played against a defense like the Eagles yet. So, give me the Eagles. I think we're gonna get like 4 sacks on him. I'm not gonna start him. I'm not gonna start the Eagles defense because they scare me. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, I have no idea who's playing and who's not. Like the status of Gainwell, Reed, Blankenship, and James Bradbury still up in the air, but I think they're going to play. I just think Sirianni's going to keep the Buccaneers guessing. But yeah, give me the Eagles minus 4.5. I think it's going to be 27-20. So yeah, I think we're going to get 4 sacks this game. I think Jalen Carter gets a sack and a half minimum. I like what I've been seeing from Jalen Carter. He's already looking like one of the best D tackles in the league right now. So, yeah, that's it. Those are all the games for the week. To go over the list again, I'm going with the Browns, Lions. I'm going with the Browns, Lions, the Packers and Saints game. It all depends on if Aaron Jones plays. If he plays, Packers. If he doesn't, Saints. Dolphins over the Broncos, Chargers over the Vikings, Patriots over the Jets, Buffalo over Washington, Jacksonville over Texans, Colts over Ravens for my upset of the week, Seattle over Carolina, Chiefs over Bears, Cowboys over Cardinals, Steelers over Raiders, and like I said, the Bengals and Rams game depends on if Burrow plays. If he does play, Bengals. If he doesn't, Rams. So that's it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next week.